With my 2 sleeves pressed and pinned at the hem, I'm going to go ahead and sew them. And I'll first refer back to my pattern guide sheet to make sure I've done everything that I need. So if I looked here, it's this last step. So we're on the last step. This is so exciting. Overcast bottom edges of sleeves. So we've serged them. That's what overcast means, is to serge. Then fold 1-inch hems to wrong side, press and pin. So I pressed and pinned them. It also says stitch close to the edges of hem. This is just going to be just like when we did our bottom of our hoodie, where we're going to sew at 3/4 inch seam allowance so that we can make sure that we have an extra 1/4 inch to catch anything that might have been adjusted or moved. And I'm just going to go ahead and sew this. Once again, you can choose to sew them inside out or right side out. Mine are already inside out, so I'm just going to do them inside out like this. And then I'm going to try and slide them up on this arm. And as I sew, I'll just rotate it around this arm, so that way I don't have anything tucked under. Another option is to sew like this, where I'm just moving my fabric along, like it's all going to be up on top of my machine. It's not around, but I'm going to sew it from around because that's easier for me. So I'll just pull it up and around my arm. And then I'll find my 3/4 inch, which is right here again. So here's 1 inch, 3/4, 1/2, 1/4, 3/4 is right here. So I'll line everything up, pull my threads behind by just rotating this. And I'll start at my seam line, so then I have, make sure that I do that part right. I want my seam lines to line up on each other, so they should be, this seam line should line up with this seam line over here. Once I make sure that those are both in place, I can lower my presser foot, and I will go ahead and sew forward 3, and then backward 3, and then forward 3. And I'm just helping, because this is a little tight around my arm of my sewing machine, I'm just going to help my fabric a little bit if it needs it. If it doesn't need it, then don't worry about it. But if it's a little tight, then just kind of give it a little guidance to make sure it's moving along. Pull my pin out before I get there. Now as I approach my start of my seam, so as I approach the seam line where I've already sewn, I'm just going to sew up over the same seam line, so I want it to be right in line with the same seam line, and then I'll backstitch when I get on top of that. So I'll go ahead and backstitch, lift up my presser foot, trim my threads, over here. After trimming my threads, I have a finished hem. If I pull this out a little bit, you can see it a little better. So finished sleeve hem. Just go ahead and repeat that same step for your other side, and then you are done with your hoodie. Congratulations!